All right, hello everyone, GM. Welcome back to another episode of Overpriced JPEGs. This is truly an extra special one. I am here live at VCon with the one and only Huda Kattan. So excited to be here, and we are going to dive right in because Huda is generous enough to be giving me her time during this very busy day. She's speaking later today with Eva Longoria. For those who don't know, which many of you probably do, Huda is the founder of a multi-billion-dollar beauty brand, Huda Beauty. She was named one of the top 10 most influential people in beauty by Forbes. She's been named one of the 25 most influential people on the internet, according to Time. And she's now super into NFTs and bringing her audience along with it, which thank you so much. So
thank you.
I want to start somewhere really specific when it comes to women in NFTs, which is sort of this broader conversation around women in any space where it's like an early adopter space.
Right.
I think it's so interesting looking at your career. You started blogging early. You've obviously dominated the social media game. Why do you think, I assume you think of yourself as an early adopter. You certainly have been.
Yeah.
What do you think has drawn you towards being an early adopter? Like, where does that come from?
I mean, I think a lot of times as women, we are afraid to fail, and especially in spaces where we may not feel like it's our place. And sometimes we're even told that we're going to fail, and I think that there's a little bit of an element of that fear that sometimes holds us back. And we have to kind of get rid of that. When I first started playing in the NFT space, I did get into it because of my husband. If he hadn't pushed me, I do think there were certain elements in my life at that period of time that pushed me. But I think I still wouldn't have had the confidence, And so I think women out there, we need to start pushing each other. I actually had the opportunity to sit with somebody who was in the investment world. She was another woman, very prominent within the investment world. And she said something to me about Huda Beauty. She was like, oh, it'd be great if you opened stocks, if you IPO'd and, you could get all the women to tell their husbands to buy the stocks. And I think that pissed me off so bad. Yeah, that pissed me off so bad. That was in November last year that I was like, excuse me? So we as women are expected to now do everything, work, do all those things, but not to manage our own finances.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I think there's always that element of like, as women, we're expected to go so far, but then to stay in our lane. Even when I started my brand, it was like, okay, you do all the cute hobby stuff, the fun stuff, and then you hand the business work over to, this man and he will take care of it for you. And there was an element of that was very real. But then there's also like, who is telling us that? And then why are we believing that? And so having to push through that ceiling, that, breaking through that is really important for us. We have to do that.
A couple of things I want to touch on there. You said your husband got you into NFTs. I think I read your sister had pushed you to start a blog.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think there is this like tendency for women to feel like we need to be invited into spaces to take part in them.
Absolutely.
Is that, I mean, that was a woman looking out for a woman. That's why, do what you're doing.
Absolutely. When my sister first pushed me, she was like, we need to start lashes. And I remember saying to her, I'm not a business person. I am a beauty person. Like, that's like, I'm just going to start blogging. I'm going to be in my blog. That's where I'm going to be. My sister told me to start my blog, also told me to start the lashes. So it was like 2 years later, she was pushing me to something new. And I was like, no, I'm not a business person. Like that's so complicated. And it's so funny because I didn't realize how much of a natural knack I had on business. It's actually crazy. So
clearly
we are telling ourselves stories that are just total bullshit. Do you know what I mean? So whatever it is, like we're telling ourselves stories that are total and utter bullshit.
When did the shift happen for you where you started to be like, oh no, I am a businesswoman and holy shit, I'm good at this?
What's so funny is when I started, I'm sorry. When I started sitting with a lot of, professional people and I knew things that, they didn't know sometimes. Like I think if we are plugged into our communities, they have all the answers to everything. And sometimes if you are a part of that community, you also know better than anybody. Like you don't need to do consumer research and, social listening. You should. But if you are a part of that community, if you are the community, you know it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not any like bullshit. It's like, okay, I genuinely want this. So I know my community is going to want it. And I think there's an element of being that we need to like, I feel like we always have this limitation. Like you can only be one side of this person of who you are, but we're complicated. We're multifaceted. So why am I only one version of this person? Why can't I be all of who I am, which may be, a badass bitch who loves to spend time wearing makeup, but also a boss bitch. Like, why can't I be both of those things? Also maybe sometimes a nice person.
Yeah. You mentioned the confidence piece, and I'm wondering if the beauty piece dovetails for this with you. Like, I think more confident people are more likely to be an early adopter somewhere, right? Because it's a risk inherently. And if you're confident, you can take those risks.
Right.
And as women, I think we're trained to have a lot of our confidence come from our sense of beauty.
Absolutely.
How explicitly do you think about that with your brand and beauty as in service of confidence for women? Like, I know that's something you talk a lot about.
I do, yeah.
So I would love to hear you express some of that.
I talk about that because I didn't realize that I was so, like reliant on the mask that we put on. Sometimes we put this makeup on and we think it becomes like who we are. We don't realize, who we are outside of that. And I've been lucky enough to like where the brand has become kind of a catalyst for me to go through my self journey, my own like self-development. And when I started to discover, I don't want to go too far into like some things around the brand, but we had a moment where I had to do a photo shoot and I was like, I'm going to do this photo shoot. We were launching skincare. I was like, I want to do it without makeup. I want to do it without the Photoshop. I really want to expose who I am. Like if the products work, that's what I want to do. And I remember feeling so exposed at that moment, so insecure, because you're right. So some of your confidence, a lot of your confidence as a woman comes from the way you look. And it was such a pinnacle moment for me because I had to like look at who I was, who that person was in the photo. And I had to say, wait a second, you mean to tell me all the work this woman has done, she doesn't deserve to feel loved? You're like, what are you telling me right now? And that moment really turned things around. And I realized that yes, the makeup, it is a part of who I am. It's an element of like me putting on a version of who I can be, but it's always the same person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think we sometimes underestimate that. It's like we need the lipstick, we need the foundation, we need that for confidence. But, like the value comes from you, the person putting it on, not the makeup itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also in the context of this, again, early adopter conversation, and then I'll move on from there is, because I don't think men necessarily understand this or in general don't understand.
Yeah.
The amount of bandwidth that gets consumed for women thinking about how we look.
Oh my God.
Being an early adopter takes so much work. Like it's so much work and mental energy to be an early adopter, to be on Discord, to understand NFTs.
100%.
And then we're simultaneously being like, 100%. Do I look thin enough? Do I look curvy enough? Does my face look okay? Is my outfit okay?
Absolutely.
And I think that's like part of the obstacle too. It's like we're already doing so much else in our damn brains.
It's like the exhaustion that goes into all of these things. And it's like, and then you're going to a space, the early adoption, right? Guys go into it knowing that they're going to fail and they're going to have to figure it out. Women go into it thinking that like, I cannot fail. If I do, I shouldn't have been here in the first place. So it's like, we do have a mindset shift that we need to have because we waste so much energy on the makeup, on the beauty, on those things, which we should start to use like in a different way. Like, so actually I've started this thing. So during COVID, I stopped loving makeup. I stopped loving makeup. The world was going to shit. I couldn't be in love with makeup. I was like, I'm really feeling the world right now. I'm feeling the pain. My team was like, you got to talk about these products. I was like, I'm not talking about it. It hurt our business, but I refused to talk about it. I just couldn't. I couldn't bring myself to. But I also stopped loving, I was like, wait a second. So I stopped loving makeup, but I also feel like I lost the element of who I was. So I started to fall in love with makeup all over again. I was like, I'm not putting makeup on for the gram anymore. I'm doing it for me. And I started listening to audiobooks at the same time. I call it my grow and glow moment in the morning. It's the best thing ever.
I start off with podcasts and audiobooks.
Every morning.
Yeah, I love it.
Put your makeup on at the same time. It's your you time. You feel amazing and you're nourishing your brain and you feel good. So it's a way to multitask. I feel like as women, we have to multitask.
Yeah.
So it it takes you so much further. So and then as you enrich, the more you learn, the more you feel okay about taking the risks and, being early adopting, or an early adopter.
RARIBLE is the NFT platform that's leading the charge into the multi-chain universe ahead of us. Available on Flow, Tezos, Polygon, and of course, Ethereum, RARIBLE is the perfect place for NFT newcomers, profile picture collectors, and experienced NFT traders. RARIBLE has a variety of NFT features that set it apart from other NFT marketplaces. They have a native messaging function allowing you to DM your friends or haggle with sellers. They also have a mobile app on iOS and Android with a built-in NFT portfolio tracker tool so you can easily check the value of your digital art portfolio. RARIBLE is built on the RARIBLE protocol, a multi-purpose, open source, and community-governed NFT protocol that helps build products and services across the NFT ecosystem, including white label marketplaces tailored to specific NFT communities. So go to rarible.com and start discovering and trading NFTs, putting in floor bids to join PFP communities, and DM with some brand new internet friends. If you're starting on your NFT journey, you need MetaMask. This is your tool to unlock the world of DeFi and NFTs without giving up custody over your private keys. MetaMask is both a secure in-browser wallet and also a secure bridge for your hardware wallet so that you can connect to any Web3 enabled website. You can now trade tokens with any DEX or aggregator. MetaMask Swap gathers real-time pricing information across the DeFi exchange ecosystem, allowing you to select your best price while getting all of the MetaMask benefits of self-custody, lower gas gas costs and increase transaction success rates. MetaMask also has a fantastic mobile wallet, which I use while I'm out and about. And I use it to collect POAPs, NFTs, and use it for all my DeFi things while I'm away from home. If you haven't downloaded MetaMask, you gotta try it out. Download MetaMask for desktop and mobile at metamask.io, or load up your Ledger, Trezor, Keystone, or Lattice hardware wallets so that they too can get into Web3.
Strikes me that all of this is also about identity, which is so central to NFTs. Like, it totally makes sense to me that you're into this for a whole bunch of reasons. Community stuff, which we'll maybe talk about a little bit. But like, you know, as somebody who's been at the forefront and like deeply immersed in really identity, right? Like how we present ourselves to the world, both in makeup, also on social media.
Yeah. Personal brand identity.
Yeah. Like, what are some of the lessons you feel like you've learned there or insights you've gained there that can help inform NFTs, metaverse, digital identity? Any thoughts on that?
Oh my God, so many thoughts. And I remember when, you know, I think people still, as we all know, right? As people within the NFT space, like we understand the value of an NFT and what it does for our identity, but people still don't really necessarily understand that, you know? And I think that it's so complex. Like our identities themselves are so complex, and, you know, it's really hard to put it into a JPEG. It really is hard.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not for me like one thing or one project. I get really involved. Like I love to learn about the founders. And I feel like when there's a founder that I can get behind, I think that kind of adds to the project as well. You know, I want to be into the mission. I want to be into the purpose. I want to feel like I'm a part of that project. So, you know, I know there's a concept of like the JPEG itself, the image itself, you know, is kind of a visual identity or a visual representation of who you are. There's also like, you know, a lot of people like the fancy projects. And like, I like them too. Like,
yeah, you've got a Bored Ape profile picture.
My DP right now is a Bored Ape, you know. But I also love Yuga Labs. Like, I think they're, to me, like they're the Apple of the NFT space. I really think they are, you know, like they're just like when we at Huda Beauty eventually do launch an NFT, which we're planning on it. It's the first time I'm saying that out loud.
Oh my God. That's a big moment.
When we do one, I think VFriends has like, I think Gary and Yuga Labs are like, they have been trailblazers for like between the utility space, between the way they do airdrops, like just so many amazing things that I feel like, you know, I want to look to them when we do one and create something that provides value, provides utility, provides identity, you know, so you get that whole trifecta of like value to the person who's holding it.
Well, obviously, you know, I'll try and push you, probe you a little bit more on that. But, you know, you've done community so well. I think it's interesting to hear you say like, you know, oh, my team was mad. I wouldn't talk about makeup. It was hurting our business. But I think I would be curious if you think that in the long term, actually, that's why you have a loyal community, because they trust your authenticity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And sort of, so how did that early community start? You talked about, you started with fake lashes.
Yeah.
What was like the origin of the community you've developed and built this relationship with?
It's funny because the origin is kind of the same as it still is today. You know, like when we started in 2010, it was all about like kind of exposing the truth behind photo shoots. Like I found it so fascinating to see these like models pinned up and everything behind them was like clipped, and they weren't so perfect. It was like the front was like a facade and the behind was something else. And so as I got into it and as I was a makeup artist, that's what I wanted to talk about, so that everybody could know that they could do what they wanted, like whatever it was, they were able to have it. Nothing to me within beauty was inaccessible. It was told to me or to whoever that you were like either a part of this or you had to buy something to be a part of it. So I really wanted to break down that stereotype. And as we developed as a brand, as I started to go through my self-love journey, my development journey, it was even more important to me that we broke down those stereotypes. So yeah, I do talk a lot about that same stuff that I was before, but now it gets really deep. Yeah. It gets really deep.
What I hear you saying though there that's interesting to me is I think you're a bit of a contrarian. You know, it's like
100%.
Everyone's telling me that this is what you should see.
Yes.
So I'm gonna show you the thing over here.
I don't know why. I'm a rebel.
But that's the early adopter thing too. And I think this is something to talk to like about women for women who I think are trained more like,
totally right.
You know, think this way, do this thing, like to kind of almost practice being a contrarian. I'm saying everyone's saying XYZ. Let me intentionally think PQ T or whatever the other thing is.
I think it's up to each person. Like if you want to be in this space early, you're going to have to push yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and if you don't want to be in this space and you don't want to take risks, which, you know, everybody's their own thing. Like, you know, nobody has to do what we're telling them to do. Everybody has to do what they're comfortable with.
You can be a contrarian.
You can be a contrarian. Exactly. But, you know, you need to be able to push yourself a little bit. The reality is in the NFT space, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. You just have to be comfortable with that. Like we've invested in some projects, made a ton. We've invested in some, lost everything, you know. people only talk about the ones they make a lot of money on.
Totally.
You know, my husband and I, we don't really talk about them at all. We just like, you know, we have our wallet, you know, but I think you got to be a little comfortable with taking risks and losing. We cannot be uncomfortable with failure. Like, we really have to get comfortable with failure.
And it's a bear market now. So you have a lot of people with lots of money. Like, cool.
Yeah, we're all kind of
Deacon's paying for these tickets, you know?
Exactly. It's a little rough right now.
Are there projects you're looking at now in the bear market, or just projects you're loving in general? You obviously mentioned Gary Vee, Yuga Labs.
I just met one of the Doodle founders. My husband and I are doodlers.
Oh, yeah.
We're doodlers.
So I was going to mention doodles because I think it's interesting as we talk about digital identity, because right now it is kind of stagnant.
Right.
It's like it's this one picture, but I think doodles is pushing the boundaries.
Oh my God, right?
The wrapped doodles.
Right.
You're suddenly going to be able to actually signal more with your NFT. It's not like you wanted to cut in.
They're releasing something soon.
The duplicator.
The duplicator. What is that about?
I know.
I want to know what that's about.
I think, well, I have theories on it, but,
I hear them afterwards.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, I think they are pushing the boundaries in more dynamic forms of kind of digital identity.
It's experiential, you know, which is really cool. And for me, doodles are one that is like mass appealing. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, it has mass appeal. My daughter loves doodles.
How old's your daughter?
She's 10.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, she drew a doodle. It was somebody asked her, what did your mom and dad do? She drew my husband with a doodle and a Bitcoin, and then she drew me with a world woman and a Bitcoin. Yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
really cute. It was really cute.
Okay, I'll do a couple final questions, and then I just want to, you know, again, try and get as much out of you as I can on this. The future Huda NFT.
Like word vomit, like everything.
This is why I love podcasting, because like when you're in a studio on like CNBC, you're like very careful, and then
of course.
in person, in podcast, nobody cares.
Everything.
Yeah, I love it. Best decision you feel like you've made as a businesswoman, or in your business?
Definitely taking a risk on myself. You know, I think a lot of us sometimes we think that we have to have experts in there. We have to have like professionals in there. And I think definitely taking a risk on myself and being really scrappy. When we started our lashes, like, it was scrappy. I'm allowed to swear, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. It was scrappy as fuck. Like, we got so scrappy. I borrowed $6,000 from my sister to start the lashes. That was it. The packaging that you see right now is still the selfie that I took. I took a selfie, didn't have any money for a photo, took a selfie. Didn't have money for a logo. Asked my friend to create it for me. Actually, funny story. My sister married my friend's brother just now. So,
oh wow!
So yeah, I couldn't pay her then. Paid her a few years later. Like, when I say scrappy, like, I think a lot of times we want everything to be polished and perfect.
Totally.
I started with like the bare basics. Did what I need to do. Wasn't professional, and some of those things we still use. And so I think taking a chance on myself, just like believing that if I was just, you know, literally super gluing things together and I could like somehow present it in a professional form, eventually it was going to be something, and it did work, you know.
When did you make the leap from that to your lashes were released in Sephora? Did I read that Kim Kardashian bought them early? Like, just connect that tissue briefly if you can.
I mean, it looks like it happened briefly, but it didn't. It
Yeah.
definitely took many years.
Oh, I'm sure. I was saying, give me the brief version now, since we're running on time for you.
So in a nutshell, I mean, social media was really like a catalyst for us. You know, like when
being an early adopter.
I was an early adopter. And you know what's so funny is I was a blogger at the time, and I was blogging, giving out free information, and all the other makeup artists were like, what are you doing? You're going to be out of a job. And I was like, maybe. But I also think I am going to work on my image marketing. And at first I didn't do anything. But I remember like a year, 2 years into it, I had actually gotten pregnant. And I had like the royal family in Abu Dhabi reaching out to me to do their makeup. And I was able to charge a lot more because I was doing very little. And they were really amazing. And they helped me fund the business, essentially, you know. It was just like, it was marketing. It was all, I was like, how did you fund me? They're like, your blog.
That's amazing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think we're seeing this shift. I mean, the creator economy is a whole nother topic.
Totally.
I need another hour with you to get into that. But I think
yes.
it is interesting to see how that's evolving, right? You start with bloggers who couldn't really monetize, you weren't monetizing directly through the blog.
Yep.
And then you have social media, and now you can directly engage with an audience, but you're often still working for another brand or showing somebody else's products. Right. And now moving into a space where creators can start to directly monetize. I think this fourth wave is like, and communities co-creating
100%
with
100%
folks. So speak to that, and I'm hoping that you can maybe then shed some light on what you're thinking for
there definitely is a huge shift. You know, it's funny because we've only been able to go so far, you know, like with every single place, like within time, we kind of hit a wall. And it takes time for the change to kind of go into place. You know, like when I was first blogging, like nobody would pay me money. Everybody was like, yeah, we know you sell products out, but we don't really know like how, like, we don't have budget for you.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's putting a budget aside for a blogger. Then when I launched my lashes, it was like, holy shit, this person is to be taken seriously. We we sold out in Sephora. Like, it was happening so quick. So each time that shift happens, there are people who, like, a lot of the bigger companies are late adopters. which is why we as people, the more that we like just like break shit, like, you know, just like do like move together and break shit really fast, just trying things. This is the way that we create shifts, you know, so we kind of do have to depend on each other. The bigger companies are not going to figure it out. They're too afraid of risk. They're stuck in their ways. Sometimes they're just not agile enough, you know? And so that's why we kind of have to like, you know, work with the smaller companies or work with people who are willing to take those risks and just like, you know, it's really just about fucking around, having fun.
Yeah.
It really is.
And that's what these moments of tremendous opportunity where you can start to take on the legacy institutions. You can launch a career.
You need to be careful there too, though, right?
Okay.
That's the time.
Tell me why.
Like, right, because it's kind of like a shift. You move from like, you know, fucking shit up, having fun. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I want a part of that. And then it starts to get professional. And the fun goes away. And then people are like, oh, well, now you're like everyone else. And I have choices when it comes to everyone else. So it's like, it's really important. That's why I love meeting the Doodle founders. They were just like, they were so like, okay, we want to be really careful. They're 100% owned right now. And they were just talking about like, just like, you know, like fucking shit up, doing what doesn't make sense financially, but doing things that make sense for your community. It reminded me a lot of the Huda Beauty days, the old Huda Beauties, and I was like, I want to go back home and buy a lot of doodles right now. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think Jordan, I interviewed Jordan on the show. I think they're incredibly talented.
Right? Really, they're going to do something big.
I totally agree.
Living a bankless life requires taking control over your own private keys. And that's why so many in the Bankless Nation already have their Ledger hardware wallet. And brand new to the Ledger lineup of hardware wallets is the Ledger Nano S Plus, a huge upgrade to the world's most popular hardware wallet. With more memory and a larger screen, the Nano S Plus makes it easy to navigate and verify your transactions. And the paired Ledger Live desktop app gives you increased transparency as to what is about to happen with your NFT. What you see is what you sign. The Nano S Plus gives you the smoothest possible user experience while you're doing all of your crypto things. So go to the Ledger website to check out the features of the new Ledger Nano S Plus and join the waitlist to get yours. And don't forget about the Crypto Life card, also powered by Ledger. The CL card is a crypto debit card that hooks right into the Ledger Live app, right next to all the DeFi apps and services that you're already used to doing, like swapping tokens and staking. So if you don't have a Ledger hardware wallet, go to ledger.com, grab a Ledger, and take control over your crypto. It's increasingly obvious that everything will become tokenized, and NFT marketplaces needs robust financial reporting, performance analysis, and the peace of mind that they are compliance ready. GILDED's NFT Ops is a one-stop financial reporting solution for growing NFT platforms. GILDED has developed marketplace-specific modules to track the financial performance of NFT creators, including revenue tracking, collection metrics, royalty payments, and revenue share. Customers of NFT Ops gain full access to accounting tools and powerful APIs for custom integrations that simplify operations, streamline reporting, and produce tax-ready data. So no wonder why so many top brands like CoinMarketCap, Gitcoin, Nifty's, and POAP trust GILDED to automate complex reporting workflows. Visit gilded.finance/bankless to learn more.
Do you worry at all, about pushback from your community? There's a lot of, I think, a lot of misinformation, frankly,
100%.
about NFTs out there. How do you plan to tackle that as you've sort of talked about, or how have you tackled it as you've talked more about this?
It is a little hard because a lot of people still have a bad connotation with NFTs. You know, there still is a little bit of fear that it's a gimmick, it's a sham, it's a scam, it's something that like only rich people make money on. And that's just not true. That couldn't be further from the truth. My own philosophy is that NFTs will be, it's not my own philosophy. We will all have NFTs. Every single one of us will have our own NFT. Every single one of us will buy NFTs. Like for me, I don't understand why like even small mom and pop shops don't have their own NFTs. Like I keep trying to tell everybody, I'm like, we need to get an NFT. Like imagine what you could do with it. You could do this, you could do that. The reality is it is the future, so, it's something that I really like, I love so much. What was your question? Again, I got lost in that.
No, yeah. I mean, I think I imagine your answer is sort of educating your audience on that very fact, which is the pushback. Have you gotten pushback so far as you've talked about NFTs?
My community is very, they're very, savvy into starting their own businesses. Awesome. It's so funny. I did, our investors did, the survey where they wanted to find out a little bit about our followers. And they found out that most of them were women who wanted to start their own businesses. That's why they're following us. They were, looking up to us on how to start.
Awesome.
It was crazy.
That's so cool.
What? It was something like 65%.
It was so interesting. You were like, I didn't feel like a businesswoman back in the day. And now literally people are following you really because you're a businesswoman.
Wild.
Sorry.
And so, no, but it's wild. It's literally wild what we see of ourselves and what we actually are to the world. It's just it's so crazy. And so, my community actually does want to know more. They're actually begging me for more information. And at some point when the beginning of the year, I was so frustrated with the whole story about women not being into the space enough. I'm doing it slowly. I don't want to be too aggressive. I don't want people to feel like they have to buy NFTs. For me, it's about just providing information. I do share things here and there. I'm very cognizant of shilling. You know, so I buy into projects, but I don't necessarily want to talk about them. You know, like my wallet is public, you know, like I have a very public wallet. I have obviously some private wallets too, but my wallet is public. So, you know, for me, it's just like, I don't want to push my community to something. I know they're really hungry about it, but I just want to get information right now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Do you have a timeline? You know, you're taking it slow, but are you starting to put
Hopefully
together
next year?
Okay.
I hope next year.
Yeah, but
it would be the 10-year anniversary of Huda Beauty. So it'd be sweet.
Wow.
If we could do it, it'd be amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank
Awesome.
you so
Well, okay, last question is advice. You talked about small mom and pop shops, and I've talked about this in the podcast before too. How can they do things? You're like, I have all the ideas. You could do this, you could do that.
Yeah.
Any ideas you want to share specifically around that you've had?
Oh my God, so many. Like for me, I just feel like if the only problem is like getting people to be able to get into the community, like to get into the NFT space, right? That's our only limitation right now. Is not everybody understands how to open a wallet, how to start a wallet, how to open a MetaMask, and to get their, you know, their ledger, all those things. There's still a limitation there. So that's kind of like the issue that we run into. So like, you know, we need to figure out how to make that easier for people. But I do believe that, you know, there are some people who do know. So like I would love, for instance, an in and out NFT with like a secret menu and like not having to wait in line. And then like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, we need something, or like even like the place where I do all my Botox and fillers. I'm like, you should do an NFT and have like a monthly, like you get free for one of the people who have your NFT, get like a free, like full on whatever they want to get done. Like, I just feel like it's an experience to take your community a little bit deeper. So what do you want to do for your community? You know, I have a lot of thoughts of what I want to do for my community. Like, you know, things just for them, nobody else. Yeah. Not even accessible any other way, you know? So I think that's really where it's going to be.
Instagram just announced or just integrated, starting to roll out integrating NFTs. I think it's really interesting to think about how creators now can own their audiences in ways they previously couldn't.
It's crazy.
You know, you have, if your NFT is integrated into Instagram, you can do special things for your Instagram audience there. But then if they own your NFT, you can do it for them on Twitter, and it becomes portable in a new way.
Right.
Are you starting to think about that at all? That portability?
It's interesting because like there's still an element of like, you know, that's still Web2. Right.
Yeah.
And there's still like this limitation there. Right. So like, I love that Instagram and Twitter are trying to play more into the space and to allow us to be more, you know, flexible and own more of what, you know, our community does. But that's still Web2. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know, like, are they going to make a shift into Web3? Are they going to allow us to have more control? Because we're still limited, you know, by the platforms themselves.
I think brand activism will be interesting to kind of track in this new world. You're talking about like what all the different brands can do, even small businesses. Like, hey, I want to speak to speak to women in business communities.
Yeah, of course,
Let me partner with all of Huda's NFT holders.
Oh my God.
I'm Nike. Let me, you know, give an experience to them, do something. I think there's the efficiency and what it unlocks from like a partnership perspective is so exciting and so interesting.
The experiences that are going to happen when we get that right are going to be like mind-blowing. You know, I've been hearing a little bit about some of the experiences that are going to be at NFT NYC, and it's like, wow, like people are really, you know, there's like, the more we get into the space, the more it's going to be experiential. You know, we're at the beginning. I know we all, like, it's so funny because I always feel like I was so late. You know, I know I was not late, but there's an element where you hear stories about people who got CryptoPunks in 2017. And, you know, so I mean, Gary was early into CryptoPunks. So you hear all these stories and you're like, damn, I'm so late. But we're so fucking early.
Oh my God.
You know?
So early. I mean, when you look at like the tech, it's a clunky experience. It's clunky.
Oh my God.
And what I like to say though, and I do like from, you know, financial advice, not financial advice perspective, but I do think sometimes I worry people conflate it. We are so early. That doesn't always mean the prices are early. Yeah. This will be my last point. It's like, you know, we definitely have seen a bit of a bubble in speculation around a lot of projects that aren't going to be worth anything. Right. So don't conflate it being early from a tech perspective and there being so much that's going to evolve with this is an undervalued, you know, asset. Kind of look into it.
It's a bit weird because, like, you know, and I do believe this, like, even with cryptocurrency, right? Like, I always tell my husband, you don't always buy things. This is maybe not good financial advice because it's maybe not good financial advice. But if you are sensitive to this, which I very much am, you know, I don't always go into projects that are necessarily the best with utility, the best with certain aspects. Sometimes I buy hype. Because I know, like, if it's about to be, like, hyped up and emotion, like, there's emotion behind it, I can make money off that.
You're gonna flip.
If I want to flip. Now, that's only if you know how to flip.
Yes.
I am not usually comfortable flipping, but sometimes I get a hunch Like I remember, what was it, Dogecoin? I was like, Dogecoin. I'm sorry for anybody who. I'm sorry for.
I love that we're talking about Dogecoin. No, it's okay.
But like, I remember right before it took off, I was like, you know what? Like, I don't think this is a necessarily like the best coin, but I know it's going to make a lot of money. So I was like, we gotta like, I was like, put $1,000. I think we put $10,000 into it. That turned into like $600,000, like literally in a week. You know, and I sold it because I was like, you know. Yeah, I wasn't planning on keeping it.
If you have a talent, which you obviously do, at having a pulse of culture,
yeah,
like that is such a powerful thing, and you know you're now able to monetize that in a way that you really couldn't previously.
Right. All right. I don't always have it, but when I have it, I trust it. You know. What I mean?
Great, and it's paid off quite literally. Huda, this was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for everything you're doing. You haven't spoken yet, have you?
No. It's tomorrow.
Okay, tomorrow. I'm gonna come check it out.
Thank you.
This is a pleasure. Thanks to everyone. Huda Kattan, check her out. We'll be keeping eyes out for sure for your project when it launches, and just thanks for everything you're doing.
Thank you so much. You too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Overpriced JPEGs. If you liked this conversation, if you liked this episode, please go ahead and hit subscribe. It helps me out, it helps the show out, and it means you will get alerts and updates when we post new content. Thanks again.